I've noticed a trend in writing. It seems to be getting more common over time. It's a certain type of writing that I'm trying to describe. The best term I can think of to call it is millennial writing. You'll find out why. Okay, imagine this. You know those tweets that are like, capitalism low-key killed our vibe and gaslit us into being okay with our bosses and landlords taking our excess value? And then it has like 250,000 likes. I'm more so just referring to the Twitter style of speaking, the tone and affectation and vocabulary. Now, have you noticed this style of writing in modern games? I'll go through some examples to shed further light. Remember the cringe Saints Row reboot or new Tales from the Borderlands? There is undeniably a certain style here. By the way, I'm using footage with credit from YouTube for these. All within fair use, because I'm sorry, but why on earth would I want to play these games? Why would you expect or even want anybody to play these games? Say what you will about Telltale movie games, Tales from the Borderlands was a very well-written game, with well-wrought and interesting characters. It'd be reasonable to be excited for the follow-up to that on the basis of your enjoyment of the previous one. What you may forget is that this game isn't made by Telltale, it's Gearbox, who made Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is an excellent example of this style as well. In fact, the gradual collapsing quality of Borderlands writing maps onto this trend really well. Borderlands 3 had excessive pop culture references, like a mission where you need to get the big suck. I can just imagine the millennial writers sitting back in their room chuckling at that, a wry grin on their face for the new level of comedy they just unlocked. The main villains being streamers. It doesn't even say anything, it just has them as streamer cult leaders. Like, ooh, streamers are cult leaders. How so? At least have some sort of evidence of that or present a critique. None of the characters are really built up and there are no rewarding arcs. It's like the writers are entitled. They just expect that we care about these characters. The moments in the game don't carry any weight or impact. Maya's death was so obviously avoidable and contrived. An obnoxious character like Tiny Tina was acceptable in 2012, when we didn't know any better, but they just kept riffing on the same annoying aspects of these characters without moving on. They just can't let go of these lol-so-random characters. Why do I care if Atlas wins this corporate war? Apparently Maliwan is an evil corporation. Corporate assholes. But so are the guys we're fighting for. And the game just presents it as good and evil. They naturally cap it off with a girl power ending, despite how poorly they resolved the conflict between Ava and Lilith, you know, the protagonists of the story, and the brain-dead reveal of Tannis being a super powerful secret siren this whole time. And whenever they talk, they're always super verbose. They just keep talking and talking for far longer than is necessary. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about, don't worry. It's nonsense anyway. I think there's this famous post that pretty excellently sums up Borderlands writing. They can't go one line without stuffing it full of ironic observation as their form of jokes. The normal line would be like, if you can get some fuel canisters, then I can reactivate the main generator and get our shields back up. I marked the objective on your map. Versus the Gearbox line, hey buddy, great job killing those mutants and all. You're really good at that. Shooting things, that is. One problemo though, as it turns out, a bunch of monsters on this planet are gonna tear our eyes out if we don't get the shield back up. And this is just my opinion, but that's gonna suck. Not having eyes sounds terrible. Like, how am I supposed to read my collection of bodacious space babes without any flippin' eyeballs? So here's my brilliant plan that I got written on this here napkin. I won't go on. You can pause and read the rest of it, but you get the idea. Now, imagine everything about Borderlands 3 writing, but worse. That is Tales from the Borderlands. The worst thing about Gearbox is that they just don't get the memo. Are they addicted to sniffing their own farts or something? Why aren't they trying to improve their writing after literally everybody criticizes it?
You are good ex, who dis?
They assassinate the character of Reese. In fact, he's basically a different character entirely to the one from Tales. Now he's the corporate arsehole, basically taking on the exact same role as his enemy in Tales. In Borderlands 3, there was some gag about how his favorite frozen yogurt place got destroyed.
That's it. Say goodbye to your favorite Frogurt stand.
Not friends, Frogurts, anything but friends, Frogurts. I mean, they give you that.
I can just imagine it. Some 30-something with an English degree paid for by their parents whose greatest trauma, besides getting trolled on Twitter, is their favorite food place which they would visit in between sessions of making PowerPoints in their Mac shutting down. And they brought that trauma into the game. Now apparently they thought this frozen yogurt gag was so funny that they had to revive it for the next game as the basis for one of the characters, as if it was some beloved gag. So this Frogurt place is on Promethea, a fictional planet that looks remarkably like San Francisco, and of course it's very diverse, or rather it reflects the demographics of San Francisco. If the point of representation is to introduce new and different viewpoints, then this is achieving the exact opposite of that. It feels like these stories only represent the experiences of young, wealthy, inner-city tech people from the coastal cities of America, an extremely small niche,
Damn.
Twitter addicts.
Hey, Papa Journey!
He's
I
going
can
off.
smell your space calzones from here!
Ah, thanks. I need a new name for them.
Might also need to stop doing that problematic accent.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of the references and lingo
the
just
hell?
feel out of touch.
Wait a second.
Miss Johnson!
That guy
Did
was
you
just
get a separate-
faking an accent?
I know.
Inner city tech people from the coastal cities of
His
America.
neighbor's
an
just
extremely
faking an
small
accent.
niche,
What is that accent
Twitter
he's faking?
addicts.
Hey, Papa Journey! I can smell your space calzones from here!
Ah, thanks. I need a new name for them.
Might also need to stop doing that problematic accent.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of the references and lingo just feel out of touch.
So this is a okay. So he's a space calzones. So he's doing an Italian accent. What to sell his customers on the authenticity of the calzones? Get the fuck out of here! I gotta see that
Inner
again.
city tech people
This
from
is
the
too
coastal
much.
cities
That
of
actually
America,
was funny
an
though, but
extremely
why did they
small
write that in?
niche, Twitter
Like, why in
addicts.
the video?
Papa Journey! I can smell your space calzones from here!
Ah, thanks. I need a new name for them.
Might also need to stop doing that problematic accent.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of the references and lingo just feel out of touch.
Miss Johnson! Did you get a cybernetic leg? That thing's straight fire.
Oh my god.
Like they're trying to be younger than they actually are. A lot of the language
That
feels
was
like 5
lame as
years out of
fuck.
date, and there's a certain
That was
character
lame
design.
as fuck,
The
Miss
shape
Johnson.
on one side and
But,
long hair
I mean-
swept on the other. The bright.
It's almost like a Pixar movie. Like, that was kind of like a Pixar kind of joke. You know, like something you would see in, like, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs type thing, you know? Like,
Than they actually are. A lot of the
It's-
language feels
it's
like
funny,
5
but
years
in
out
a
of date.
cute,
And there's a certain
cheesy way.
character design. The shape
That
on one
one.
side and long hair swept on the other.
yeah, well,
the
she
brightly
was,
colored hair.
but the main
It's
the
extremely
character
common.
kid was
There are
cringe.
also adult
that's so
characters who
funny.
speak like children, or just generally speak in a really condescending.
I
That
missed,
thing's straight fire.
like, they're trying to sound younger than they
people
are,
from
right?
the
I think
coastal
that,
cities of America.
I
an
think he
extremely
captured it
small
right
niche,
there.
Twitter addicts.
Hey, Papa Journey! I can smell your space calzones from here!
Ah, thanks. I need a new name for them.
I mean, I don't
Might also need to
know.
stop doing that problematic accent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
A lot of the references
Like, they're funny
and lingo
sounding.
just feel out of touch.
Miss Johnson!
The way
Did you
she's
get a
going at the
cybernetic
snail's
leg?
pace.
That thing's straight fire.
Stupid as fuck.
Like they're
Like,
trying to be younger than they actually are. A lot of the language feels like 5 years out of date. And there's a certain character design. The shaved on one side and long hair swept on the other. The brightly colored hair. It's extremely common. There are also adult characters who speak like children, or just generally speak in a really condescending or patronizing tone.
yeah.
While I examine this unimaginably complex and priceless alien artifact, you may wait outside and steal anything not nailed down.
There was the new Saints Row reboot as well. We knew it was going to be terrible before launch, and we weren't surprised at all. They made the main characters into a bunch of broke college kids, and they're all dealing with student debt and rent and complaining about capitalism. They
What?
try to borrow some internet lingo like wage slave. They're super verbose. They do not stop haranguing the player with dialogue, and they use expletives like they're meant to be edgy, or they're just funny on their own.
Goddamn fucking shitballs on a stick and a side order of mother-loving shit-smothered, piss-covered ass crack!
It's like they
What
get a
the
kick out of
fuck?
swearing for no reason. Also, it's super funny that characters are talking about their carbon footprint.
Your carbon footprint always matters.
So relatable, am I right, fellow millennials?
Wow.
People talk about that on Twitter, right? They really do talk about capitalism a lot. They don't really say much about it, though. They just say the word, and we're supposed to think, I don't even know, like, wow, you're really culturally aware.
I've told you before, the Idols are trying to build a post-capitalist society where money is not a concept.
The original series
This is
started as
dumb
a
as
GTA
fuck.
clone and got
They need to
progressively
leave that
more
shit
wacky
out.
and outlandish.
They need
The
to leave
humor
their
was
dumb
extremely
ideas
crass.
out of
It
these video
recognized the
games.
absurdity and cranked it up as high as possible. It was self-aware before self-aware humor became really tired. They certainly did make pop culture references, but like Borderlands, this style of humor was more apt in 2012. It feels like they haven't really grown since then. They've had to tone down a lot of the most vulgar elements of the humor from previous games, which just doesn't work because vulgarity was the core of the humor in them. And again, we see the same character design, the Skrillex cut, the dyed hair. You see it in so many games, it's like they're reading from the same guidebook. Now, something that feels similar, but is harder to place my finger on, is the new Wolfenstein games. The New Order was alright. Wolfenstein 2 started to introduce some weirdness, like throwing their fetishes into the game. But Youngblood is where the failure of the writing becomes really apparent. It's centered around these quirky twins who get up to silly antics in between bouts of killing people. It's strange how frivolous it is with violence. Of course, that certainly isn't a new thing, but in this game, the main characters seem to delight in it. That also isn't the weird part. It's that they delight in this violence, and there is nothing really wrong with it. They're not anti-heroes, they're just regular old protagonists. And it's just silly and fun. It's strangely flippant. I mean, the New Order wasn't like that. It did have over-the-top violence, but BJ Blazkowicz was motivated by a righteous fury and rage. He never really reveled in killing or celebrated it. There's also the loud equals funny yelling. Some of the new Wolfenstein writing just feels like the writers had some issues of their own to work on.
Why is it that balls always used as some fucking default definition of badassery?
It feels like they wanted to
What?
make a political statement that they
What the fuck
just
did she just
weren't
say?
equipped.
Fucking default definition of. Why is it that balls always used as some fucking default definition of badassery?
It feels like
What the
they
hell?
wanted to make a political statement that they just weren't equipped to make. High on Life is another super obvious example. It has all of the same hallmarks: overly verbose characters, unnecessary swearing as if it was funny on its own. I mean, I like Michael Cusack. Damo and Darren at the train station is one of the most quoted videos here in Australia. But man, the knifey character didn't work. They had a cameo from Psychic Pebbles as well, who is usually absolutely hilarious. But in this game, I don't think the bit really worked. I noticed there's a certain vocabulary as well. It wouldn't be unusual to hear words such as weird or shitty. And it is weird that the dude who, well, you know what he did, is calling anyone shitty. This kind of dialogue is really common. I feel like High on Life could have done with an editor. Somebody to cut like 90% of the dialogue, only leaving the best stuff in. As of right now, it seems like they believe that annoying equals funny, similarly to loud equals funny. Destiny 2 seems to have taken on some of this writing as well. Anna Bray is starting to sound like a Borderlands character.
My security frames are overrun. Is another example of your overpromised, underdeliver attitude?
Huh. None of that sounded like, Anna, please help me. I need you. They're killing me. Ow.
A simple yes would satisfy.
So quirky and sardonic. This type of delivery sounds condescending. It reminds me of the boss from Office Space.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
I'll be honest, I do not see the appeal. And, I can't really bring up millennial writing without at least mentioning indie Earthbound-inspired game that's secretly about depression and mental health. These tend not to have the exact same tropes, Now that I think of it, it wouldn't be unusual to find similar stuff in indie games. It's just that people in the comments are going to bring this up if you're going to talk about millennial games. So I think I'm starting to get a picture of it. The hallmarks of this style of writing that stick out to me from these and many more examples. The aforementioned vocabulary: shitty, weird, gross, icky, yucky, yikes, my dude, my guy, y'all, and of course, decent human being. Another millennial phrase I tend to hear is, the bar is on the floor. It's funny how a lot of these phrases are kind of childish. I'm not sure whether they're trying to be condescending and infantilizing to others, or whether they are themselves infantilized. They so often sound passive-aggressive. Another millennial phrase that annoys me is do better or be better. Again, talking down to you. It's insanely condescending. It just seems like a failure to grow up. A lot of the humor seems like it's from the people who've struggled to grow up since 2012. It seems like they're emotionally stunted. And this is probably just me reading into it, and I see a lot of crossover with the being emotionally stunted and all of the pop culture references. It seems like some kind of identity that they're trying to cling to, that they can't let go of. I mean, Fallout 2, all the way back then, was full of pop culture references, but I don't know. Back then, being a quote-unquote nerd was kind of a subculture of its own. It wasn't really something people aimed to be. It's just a label people got slapped with for the activities and subculture they gravitated towards. It was to make fun of them. Now, nerd is like a market demographic. It seems that being a self-admitted nerd and being obsessed with pop culture is based purely around cynical consumption nowadays. And obviously nothing epitomizes this more than the Funko Pop, which is like a religious icon for millennials.
Oh,
The pop
not me.
culture obsession
Okay.
seems to stem from an inability or
Okay.
refusal to grow up. The kinds of references that were funny in 2007 and tolerable in 2012 are just embarrassing now. There are other hallmarks, like letting you pet the doggo, because that's a Twitter account, right? Having quips everywhere that undermine dramatic moments. Having an easy mode called Tell Me a Story or Story Mode. Letting you skip bosses or parts of the gameplay. Making the game easier if you fail too many times. I also just wanted to mention a few tweets because people speak like this on Twitter, and I think that's where it comes from. And once you see enough of this, you start to recognize this style when you see it in media. Tuesday, the day you realize that nothing can stop you because you are a magic skeleton packed with meat and animated with electricity and imagination. You have a cave in your face full of sharp bones and 5 tentacles at the end of each arm. You can do anything, magic skeleton. Between Bernie, my ex-wife, the tenant from hell, and general chump fuckery, this has been a cromulent fuck crustable of a day. Tommy needy drinky. Kanye is a teeny weeny little baby bitch muffin. What you'll notice is the playground insults mixed with swearing, and they're talking in a baby language, like with these invented words that they just came up with. Beyond that, there's all the references to student debt. So relatable, am I right, fellow millennials? Ironic that the people who talk about representing broader viewpoints and life experiences seem to make the same few jokes that only appeal to a tiny group of people who are like them. Degree in English from major coastal cities of the USA. The student debt thing is also meant to be their social commentary. And that brings us to the juiciest part, the politics. A game like Saints Row keeps referencing capitalism, as if it was offering some sort of critique, but it's not really saying anything. A lot of these games seem to just reference political events or social issues because it's like they feel obliged to. They do these political things, not because they have
Just to
anything to
say some
say,
dumb
but
shit
because
and try
they
to
think
sound
they
smart.
have to say something. This is because of Twitter and just social media in general, at least partly. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the complaints about how they're politicizing video games were coming to a head. We need to stop politicizing this escapist hobby. Then some Redditors from a place named Gaming Circle Jerk took these complaints and ran with them. They've been telling their singular joke for like 6 years now. Actually, Chud, games have always been political, then showing examples of old games and how they made some political statement. Every meme since then has been some variant of le gamers, le politics. It's also paired with the statement that all art is political, and games, as art, are making a political statement, even if they don't overtly comment on anything. Saying nothing is a sign that you tacitly affirm the status quo. You aren't fighting hard enough against capitalism if you aren't speaking out against it. And it seems that they've reached game devs with this message. I think it's a common enough sentiment that many game devs feel obliged.
That's the problem. That's the problem I have with it, is that they just need to make the games. They don't need to fight. They don't need to fight against capitalism or anything. They're there to make video games.
To say something, to make a statement enough against capitalism if you aren't speaking out against it. And it seems that they've reached game devs with this message. I think it's a common enough sentiment that many game devs feel obliged to say something, to make a statement about politics, even when they don't really have anything of value to say. And it shows. Oftentimes these political allegories and references to capitalism just feel phoned in, like in Saints Row. It isn't really saying anything, it's just making the references because I guess it looks like that's what people want when you look at social media. Am I right? Do my moots on the Bird app agree with this? We talk about this all the time. Same with Borderlands. It's maybe trying to make a statement about evil corporations.
Corporate asshat.
But you fight for corporations the whole time. And I just want to take a moment to compare the capital P politics in games versus how old games would present political issues. In all those older games, it was more of an idea that was presented. It was often aware of the nuance, and it didn't force your opinion on the matter. It'd perhaps present you with a choice and an ethical quandary to bring you to question your own beliefs. It respected the player's intelligence. Of course, the writers of those games had intent. They would frame things in such a way that it made their ideology seem favorable. But it'd never force your hand. And it never felt like they were trying to force any message. The political message that could be gleaned from the game arises naturally as a result of the setting. Contrary to what Redditors claim, Fallout was not created as a political allegory. It was, first of all, a dumb, absurdly violent, ridiculously bleak game with crazy guns and mutants. There were, of course, ethical quandaries and political dilemmas presented as part of the setting that could be applied to the contemporary world. It never portrayed communism favorably. It didn't really say much of anything about it. It was mostly focused on America and American culture, and any of the critiques rose out of that setting. Now compare it to the politics in current games. It often feels like a cynical reference to current things. It's often things which do not suit the setting. It never explores any ideas in depth. It simply tells you things rather than presenting something and allowing you to think about it. I think that's the crux of it. It's about respecting the player's intelligence, allowing you to work things out on your own, to choose for yourself, to come to your own conclusion. Of course, we can't have people making their own choice nowadays. They might make the wrong one. I think condescending sums it up perfectly. They think you're stupid. They're also kind of pretentious. A lot of this political writing presents the most basic opinions and acts like you've never heard them before, like they just blew your mind, like it's something revolutionary. Now, why did millennial writing rise in the first place? I legitimately think it is Twitter. Look, for a business's continued survival, it needs to adapt constantly. When you stop growing, you start dying. So you need to look at current trends. What is an easy way to see current trends? Why, the way everyone communicates. Social media. I think that writers, devs, and producers are getting their idea of what constitutes current trends from Twitter, which I think is really misguided, for the simple fact that Twitter does not represent broader society. Most of what you'll hear on Twitter comes from a very small, very vocal minority. And hey, for a while the FBI was basically deciding who is and isn't allowed to have a voice on that side. I think that producers should look elsewhere to get an idea of broader society, somewhere besides social media. It only elevates fringe voices. I guess this does kind of destroy the whole argument that Twitter is just a private company which doesn't really control much of public discourse. Twitter, for a private company, holds an extreme amount of power over public dialogue, and it's the same with every social media site. I have to say, it was pretty funny to me seeing Unishek, the community manager for Halo Infinite, borrow some of the cynical and condescending language from Gaming Circle Jerk, only to get screenshotted and roasted on the site himself. It was hilarious to see that backfire, I will admit. So, in all, I guess the advice I'd give to producers is the same advice I'd give to everybody. Unplug. Shut off social media for a bit. Live in the real world. And don't be so condescending. And get to the point. Please subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching. And goodbye. You can do anything, Magic Skeleton. Which is like a religious icon for millennials. The pop... This has been a cromulent fuck crustable of a day. Tommy Needy Drinky.
Tommy Needy Drinky. So we need to see this. We need to follow up on this Forspoken, where gaming is woke. We need to because I want to see what black gamers have to say about whether or not this is woke or not. Here we go. Forspoken blast game for not calling POC hero the N-word. What the fuck is wrong with Polygon? This Yellow Flash. I like Yellow Flash.
Spoken.
He's funny as fuck. This guy is so funny. He's so fucking funny.
Well, Square Enix has another bad game under their
He's
belt.
mad as fuck already.
I don't know if you even remember this game, Forspoken. I think they first announced this game like 2 years ago. And it's finally coming out tomorrow, or today, 13 hours until the game releases. So later today, I think tomorrow it'll actually come out. Because games usually don't drop on Mondays. They usually come out on Tuesdays or Thursdays or Fridays. Usually Nintendo's Friday, I think. So I think the physical edition probably tomorrow. But usually, because, just because the game comes out today doesn't mean you're necessarily going to play it. Because, what is it, like, usually you have to download the entire game, and then you have to download the update and install it. It takes, like, 2 hours for most people to get a game ready to go. Because most people just don't have super fast internet. Imagine if you live in the middle of nowhere in game, and in the middle of nowhere... your options for internet speeds are rather limited, so it's a tough time for some people when it comes to being excited for a game and getting it. However, I don't know how many people are going to be excited for this game. Forspoken PS5 reviews are here, and they are bad. Real bad, it looks like. As I've said previously, red flags have been going up about Square Enix's Forspoken left and right as of late. The demo was not terribly well received and needed its own patch before release. The PC specs of the game were ludicrous. The dialogue in the trailers felt cringeworthy. So I have not been following this game's release. I haven't been following it at all, really. The only time I think I ever spoke about this game was when the creators were getting attacked because they came out and they basically said stupid shit. Remember in that one review, I think there's an IGN review where they were reviewing the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, and they were like, oh, he's got the exaggerated swagger of a young person of color or something. Well, in this game, I guess they said something similar in an interview, and they attacked them. They've also been attacked because the character is black, and there's no writers of color writing the game, so they were going after them for that.
What?
That's
don't
always
even
cringy.
believe that.
So they were already attacking the game, and then I stopped following it because I don't know anything about this game, and it doesn't look like I'm going to play it because, as he's pointing out here, IGN 6 out of 10, GameSpot 5 out of 10, Games Radar 5 out of 10. And it's not just that. If you go over to Metacritic, you see the game sitting at 68 based on 59 critic reviews. Not very good. Only on PlayStation 5, but also on PC. There's no scores for
The
PC.
screen caps are ugly, though.
This is weird when Why is it
What
only
sucks-
on PS5 and PC?
It sucks
Why is it a
because there's so
PlayStation only
man.
game? This is Square Enix, so it's not.
The all the particle effects look so good, but then their characters models are bad. And now we know why. Because we know why. It's because what is it? Luminous? The Luminous engine was created over 10 years ago, and it was only used on Final Fantasy 15, and so part of Forspoken looks like 2023 and part of Forspoken looks like 2013. We know that that's at least part of why it looks bad. At least part of why it looks bad. But then you look at the particle effects and they look great. It's like the best part of the game. And people were saying the combat is good, or at least if not good, they said the combat was fun. You know. So not like, you know, not some monumental new combat system, but one that you can get into and have a good time. So, you know, it sounds playable, but like what for? Why would I play it? Right. And no, yeah, and that's a lot of. I mean, 5 that's an F. Like that's a 50%. That's an F.
Being made by an exclusive studio to Sony. I don't know why Square does this shit all the time. They'll just put a game on PlayStation. Probably for no financial incentive. I don't understand that. Why would this game should be on Xbox too, but oh wow. A couple studios like it. We got 3 high scores from Gaming Nexus, TR Gamer, and WCCF Tech gave it a bad one. PlayStation Lifestyle also gave it a good review, but everyone else is giving it bad. Hardcore Gamer gave it a 40. Ooh. 40 out of 100. That's bad. Not a lot of people liking this game. It's interesting. So, this game's getting hit pretty badly.
The breath. Every time he got to take a...
Listen to some of these reviews. Now,
you can tell he's upset.
Here's Polygon. Of course, right?
She does not look like the actress, and that's the other problem. They're not. They're making all of the female characters look different from the models. The models that they're using. The male models look exactly like the males, and the female models are altered. Their jaws are widened. They're aged. Just, so many feature changes. So many. But why are they doing that? I think it's because there's too much fat acceptance or something. Because they said something about, oh, we can't have women, women 180 pounds and under is unreasonable. To portray women as 180 pounds or something like that. Yeah. What the fuck?
Because Polygon is really known for their awesome takes on gaming. This is from Grayson Morley. He's a writer, an editor, and a gamer. Polygon. And he has a very strange critique for this game that I want to show you. Saw this from Sophia Narwitz. A character isn't truly black until they're called a bunch of slurs and systematically oppressed by the governing body. Do better, game devs.
What?
So this is from the white dude who writes this article, as she points out here. A white guy. So here's what's in the review. Before I wrap up, let's spare a word for Frey, a notionally black protagonist who joins a growing trend in media of putting black people in a world where race is inconsequential. Except the game is very insistent that Frey is a New Yorker. Mysterious, birth or no, spending her entire life up until this point growing up in our decidedly non-fantasy world where blackness is a non-factor. Regrettably, Frey's identity is thinly written and awkwardly deployed, as the story leans not only on stereotypical narratives, but trauma as a plot device. So this game is mad as...
I don't even know what the fuck was just said, to be frank. I feel like I need to go back.
Yeah.
What?
This is all about a video game.
This is all about a video game.
Like, I'm not talking to you. So.
This is all about it. No, I mean, you can talk on stream if you want. I don't know what the fuck was just said. So one person, wait. Okay, so Sophia here is retweeting someone else's review. But apparently both the reviewer's take and Sophia's take are a little bit fucked up. I think that's what's happening. I think that's our context here. Because some of it's just so wordy. There's a lot of words being used, and I don't know what the fuck is... why do I have to pick the message out of what the fuck someone's saying? You know what I mean?
Right, it's got a lot of...
Some people just can't say what the fuck they're trying to say.
Really known for their awesome takes on gaming. This is from Grayson Morley.
Grayson Morley.
He's a writer, an editor, and a gamer.
This is totally a white guy. That's okay.
Yeah.
But
he has a very
what the fuck is he
strange
going
critique
right?
of this game that I want to show you.
Like,
Saw this from Sophia
and
Norwitz.
what the fuck is Sophia got to
Characters are truly black
Norwitz?
until they're called a bunch of slurs and systematically oppressed by the governing body. Do better, game devs. So this is from... She, I think, is sarcastically dogging his interview.
Okay.
That this white guy doesn't think that Frey is black enough. She is dogging the reviewer for claiming that in order to be black, Frey needs to be systematically oppressed. I think that's what's happening.
Okay, that's what she
And
said
then,
about that article.
correct, and then he's gonna move in on that article. Yeah. So she's calling out Grayson for being a racist, I guess, or not like saying something maybe discriminatory without realizing it, I think is what Grayson did. Not that Grayson hates black people.
This is from the white dude who writes this article, as she points out here. The white guy.
She's going in for him.
So, here's what's in the review. Before I wrap up, let's spare a word for Frey, a notionally black protagonist who joins a growing trend in media of putting black people in a world where race is inconsequential. Except the game is very insistent that Frey is a New Yorker. Mysterious, birth or no, spending her entire life up until this point growing up in our decidedly non-fantasy world where blackness is a non-factor.
Where it's not a
Frey's
non-factor.
identity is thinly written and awkwardly deployed, as the story leans not only on stereotypical narratives, but trauma as a plot device. So this game is mad, as Norwitz points out, or the reviewer is mad, the white male reviewer, I want to point that out, is mad that they don't make a huge deal about it and throw slurs at the character, making the game more about racism than what it's supposed to be. Okay? Can't you just have a POC as a main character and enjoy the game? No. You have to make a huge deal about it and make it a main narrative of the game. So this white man wants every game with a person of color as the main character to have the character attacked nonstop.
Have the character
No one wants
attacked.
to play that game. This is why these people are nothing
This
but
is too
activists. They're
fucking
not
funny.
really gamers.
This is too. Why Yellow Flash gotta say it like that? This white guy Might I add, Grayson, as she points out, this guy is inflammatory as fuck. Because I didn't hear or read anywhere anything about slurs though.
No,
Nobody said anything about slurs.
No.
He's blowing that shit up like, oh, you're gonna have to throw slurs. Like, no one even wrote anything about slurs. But okay, so what the dude is saying in the article though, he has a fucking point. But that it doesn't need to be a part of any POC's identity in a fucking video game, especially a fantasy game at that. I don't know why Grayson. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, Grayson's a reviewer. I mean, he told us what he thought. So, but what he's saying, I mean, what is he saying? He couldn't buy into it. He couldn't buy into. Well, the game confused him because he's trying to understand. It seems he's trying to understand: is her blackness consequential or not? And that the game itself was a little bit unclear about that.
About what narrative they were.
Yeah, and he's not the only person who said that. We just watched another reviewer who said that exact thing. That it seemed like they were going for a certain type of narrative, and then as soon as she gets dropped into the fantasy world, all of her history and ties to the real world and New York City essentially become null and void and really don't matter much anymore.
Right.
You know?
So she could have had any type of life.
Yeah, she could have had any type of life, and they gave her that one.
And that's what bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah, she could have had any life, and it would, as the game, you know, the game turns into that, it didn't, you know, it's inconsequential. She's in a whole new world. So that doesn't have anything to do with blackness. Her previous life was inconsequential no matter who she was or what she looked like. The game set that up.
Right.
So why set up what seems like a race-focused narrative and then abandon it?
Right. What was that even for?
Exactly. I guess that's what everyone's wondering.
Because like the other YouTuber had said, you know, they had just completely dropped the narrative for seemingly no reason. Like, why would you start off a game so politically charged if you don't think it's socially politically charged? If you know,
it seemed to be socio-politically charged.
Right. And then not use that type of narrative anywhere in the game. Like, if you were going to start it, then why wouldn't you lead it throughout necessarily? Or use her struggles to help the other people in that fantasy world. That's what he was saying. With her experience.
Well, one reason why they don't do that is because the game didn't it sounds like it didn't get finished.
Yeah,
it sounds like it didn't get properly finished. Like it got rushed, and that the back end is unbalanced. You're getting your powers at inopportune times. They throw a bunch of skill points at you, basically. So it doesn't sound like something that was really, really properly finished. So everybody seems to like the combat. So they got that, and then the rest of the shit they tried to throw together, it seems.
Right.
And they failed at it, and you can tell. The beginning being far more story invested, and then it virtually dropping off in the back end. It's like, we don't have the time for this polished stuff.
Right.
You know?
Seemingly no reason.
Yeah. Well, rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Rushed, or running out of money. It could be any number of things.
Making the game more about race.
You can't just have a POC player and enjoy it. He's so fucking funny. Well, but the thing is, I don't think it's that's not the player's fault. It's not the player's fault if the way that the game is made isn't fucking fun.
Right. That's the whole thing.
Or if they give you a character, you can't change her. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a story about Frey. Period. The end. And they make her unlikable, and they put her in a lame story. It's not anyone's fault for not liking that.
Right, not liking the story.
It's not Grayson's fault that the game confused him. You know, I think it might be the game's fault that Grayson was confused by it. I don't think he's saying she needs to be slurred at. I think what he's saying is, why bother to connect her so much to what is it? Black Brooklyn, okay? If she represents nothing of Black Brooklyn and where she's coming from with where she's going doesn't matter anyway. And why make her look bad?
Yeah.
Why give her such a bad starting life too? Who wrote that for her? They're saying no black people wrote that. I don't believe that at all, because we know that Sony consults with black girl gamers on their games. We know that Sony consults with Sweet Baby Inc. And we know from their own mouths what a lot of the people at those companies intend to do with video games, is make them more woke with more women and like make dudes look lamer and shit, and put in these little feminist messages. Rants, yeah, rants basically, and like making the video game characters spew the things that they're feeling and thinking. Right. That's pretty much what's happening here. And so that's not the player's fault either. That's not the player's fault either. And so I guess to answer fucking Flash's question is, can I have a POC protagonist and just enjoy them? It depends. It depends. And that's gonna depend not on their fucking color, but on their character.
And how they're written and what their story is.
Right, so it sounds like they made Frey lame, and they're gaslighting the players for not liking her.
Right.
But Frey seems lame as fuck.
She'd be lame with her.
Whatever, yeah. So why is it gotta be New York, you know?
Well, and, he's saying also, Grayson was also saying, like, they're using trauma as a story plot, and, like, that is a super negative experience. You don't see her going through anything positive at all before she gets sucked into the Spanish world because her life is so terrible.
Right, so Grayson's not a racist for pointing that out.
That's a fact.
Somebody wrote that.
Yeah,
For Frey.
Right.
Someone wrote that for Frey. Someone suggested it.
But we have this whole new world that we can make, and this whole character that we can make that gets in this type of, goes into the fantasy world, and this is her backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, so someone wrote that backstory for Frey, and I don't think it's good.
I don't like it.
And it's worse because she's black.
Yeah,
It's worse because she's black, because it looks like negative stereotyping.
Perpetuating continuous negative stereotyping.
Yeah.
And it makes it even worse.
And then gaslight the players for not liking the story or the character.
Right, because
that's crazy.
It's easier to say that, the players don't like it because she's black or because it's a person of color than saying that they don't like it because the story's shit.
Correct.
It hasn't gone anywhere, and the whole time it was bad. And not only that, but there's gameplay elements that are not fun either. And then they bring in the tech,
Yeah. So they changed the character model actress to look uglier. They wrote a character that people don't I'm not even gonna include race. It seems, because we've seen all different kinds of reviews, people don't seem to like Frey as a character, period.
They call her cringy.
Yeah.
Because
And the only saving grace to the game is the combat system.
So, here's what's in the review. Before I wrap up, let's spare a word for Frey.
And all the visuals look
black
cool.
protagonist who joins a growing
Probably
trend
makes
in
you want to
media of
play,
putting
but
black people in a world where race is inconsequential.
But look
Except
at all the
the game
bullshit
is very
you have to go
insistent
through
that Frey is a New Yorker.
just to get into that combat
Mysterious
system.
birth or no, spending her entire life up until this point growing up in our decidedly non-fantasy world where blackness is a non-factor. Regrettably, Frey's identity is thinly written and awkwardly deployed as the story leans not only on stereotypical narratives, but trauma as a plot device. So this game is mad, as Narwitz points out, or the reviewer is mad, the white male reviewer, I want to point that out, is mad that they don't make a huge deal about it and throw slurs at the character, making the game more about racism than what it's supposed to be. Okay, can't you just have a POC as a main character and enjoy the game? No. You have to make a huge deal about it and make it a main narrative of the game. So this white man wants every game with a person of color as the main character to have the character attacked nonstop.
He misread the quote.
It's just this, no one wants to
He
play that
misread
game.
that quote.
This is why these people are
not
not
what he
really
wrote. He
activists.
missed
They're
the
not
knot.
really
Yeah,
gamers.
rewind it.
They don't really
You can
enjoy
see
the
where
hobby. They just
there's a knot in there that
constantly
he
want up.
omits,
It's just
and
this-
and that's
with
leading to a misunderstanding,
as a main
fundamental
character and
misunderstanding of what was
and
written.
throw slurs, stereotypical narratives, but Frey is a new. This is from the white dude who writes this article, as she points out here, a white guy. So here's what's in the review. Before I wrap up, let's spare a word for Frey, a notionally black protagonist who joins a growing trend in media of putting black people in a world where race is inconsequential. Except the game is very insistent that Frey is a New Yorker, mysterious birth or no, spending her entire life up until this point growing up in our decidedly non-fantasy world where blackness is a non-factor. Regrettably, Frey's identity is thinly written and awkwardly deployed as the story leans not only on stereotypical narratives, but trauma as a plot device. So this game is mad, as Narwitz points out, or the reviewer is mad, the white male reviewer, I want to point that out, is mad that they don't make a huge deal about it and throw slurs at the character, making the game more about racism than what it's supposed to be. Okay, can't you just have a POC as a main character and enjoy the game? No. You have to make a huge deal about it and make it a main narrative of the game. So this white man wants every game with a person of color as the main character to have the character attacked nonstop. It's just this, no one wants to play that game. This is why these people are nothing but activists. They're not really gamers. They don't really enjoy the hobby. They just constantly want to push it. Because you would think that this would make the person happy. Like, oh, cool. A medieval fantasy game with a person of color as the main character. Nope.
Right.
Not happy. They're mad about it.
Right.
Either way, though, I don't think it's going to really matter because they didn't make a good game in the first place. Looks like it's a mediocre game. Because I think 68, that's a mediocre score. So the game is like a 5 out of 10. I think 6 out of 10. That seems to be where the score is. Which honestly isn't justifiable to me to plop down $70 for a game. I want to get a
Not
much
a
better
chance.
experience for $70 than a mediocre game. So maybe a price drop, then this game will be worth checking out. But
Not a
you know,
chance.
this kind of criticism is not valid. This is stupid. This is just Polygon being Polygon. Polygon gonna Polygon. Kotaku gonna Kotaku. They're all just shitty outlets. And I'm gonna laugh when they close down. And they will close down because nobody's going to these websites except cringe miners, who I am thankful for because I always enjoy a good laugh.
I'm gonna put Black Girl Gamer and see if they have like promos with it. Forspoken Consultants. Okay, here we go. This, see, you don't know what you don't know till you don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So, all's well that fucks well, or whatever, you know.
Water under the fridge.
Yeah. So, we got here Forspoken Consultants, Black Girl Gamer, cry harassment as gamers criticize their useless jobs.
Supporting through Patreon
Who is
or
this
through
bitch?
YouTube memberships. Now, obviously,
Very
a lot
dark.
of the talk surrounding narrative consultation companies has been aimed towards Sweet Baby Inc., but Black Girl Gamers have been doing damage to the industry for quite a long time now, and that Park Place article highlights it. They were the consultancy group who worked on Forspoken, one of the biggest flops of 2023, but it's...
Okay, pause. So, everyone's saying that the game is racist because white people wrote Frey. Boom. Wrong. Wrong.
Right.
Wrong. Weird. Fucking Black Girl Gamers worked on Forspoken. So this is immediately where we have to pause and say, why did Black Girl Gamers make Frey lame as fuck?
Right, why'd they influence her story like this? Like, they're consulting about
That's the
story.
question I have.
Yeah, they're consulting with the story because they want to make sure that it's representative of black people, and they're like, oh, there's this group called Black Girl Gamers, let's see if they can help. And then they consult, and then this is a story that they tell, and they're upset that people aren't vibing with it. Like, this is a really shitty story.
Yeah, I mean, what's his
why-
name? What was his name? Sean? What was his name? The other guy?
Well, I can't remember.
The guy who wrote the review? Like, I feel like he's justified in his confusion.
Yeah.
Like, hold
It's a
on.
video game consultant organization, Black Girl Gamers.
Yeah, let's go back. Yeah, let's go back where they fucking says
But
the
it's
shit
a
right
video
fucking
game
there.
consultant organization, Black Girl Gamers. The consultant on Square Enix's disastrous Forspoken game appears to be discriminating in their hiring practices while simultaneously claiming they are being harassed. Now, of course, this is not very surprising because a lot of these narrative consultation companies do not hire fairly. I recently had to talk about a consultant who previously worked at Sweet Baby Inc. and how on their indie project they refused to hire white people because white people made them feel uncomfortable. So this, of course, is not a shocking situation,
Damn.
but definitely one that should be called
Damn.
out. It says back on
She said that all with a smile on her face in the little interview.
Opportunity on X, limiting the applicants based on race and gender. The organization wrote, looking for black women content creators that make Dungeons and Dragons content for potential brand work. Hit us up, which is classic that they want, to discriminate in their hiring practices for a Dungeons and Dragons based project, since Wizards of the Coast is one of the wokest companies I've ever seen. But ironically, a little less than a month later, the organization claimed it was being harassed while not providing any evidence. Now, of course, this is very normal. There are
Harassment
plenty
we have
of
had
organizations
due to
and, of
Gamergate
course,
2.
employees of these narrative consultation companies who claim that they are being attacked, that they are being harassed.
Gamers that thought the industry revolved around them and their comforts are now realizing it doesn't. This is some of that to spite men sounding stuff.
Yeah, despite men, despite another group that's,
Or anyone, right? But no one ever came out saying black girls can't play D&D, black girls can't play video games, black girl, I didn't, like, it's 2024. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm acknowledging history and shit, but why are people focusing on this type shit when they're making video games is what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have a problem with black girls playing video games, but the way this company is operating, it's kind of like with the BLM thing. Like, the public was under the impression that BLM was a hashtag and a social movement, not a hashtag promoting a business, right? A business that would then go on to steal millions of dollars at that. So right here we got this company called Black Girl Gamers, but they're not actually representative of the thoughts, beliefs, and ideals of all black girl gamers.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of fucked up that they're using the words that way. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's misleading too. Emails, comments, and threats, but you know we're not going anywhere.
No one is saying that you should. They're saying that you should look at the writing that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
No one's saying you should go anywhere. At least I haven't seen anything that says that.
Well, because we're not following any content creators that are going out and harassing people like that.
Right.
That's why. I'm sure. Look, everybody's gonna get hate. You could go out and make a game about Jesus Christ and get some motherfucking hate about it. So, so I'm not saying I don't believe that they got some negative feedback. I believe that. I believe they probably got some racist ass shit too, for sure.
Yeah.
But what I don't believe is why they're making Frey lame.
I don't understand.
Because now and the other thing too, what about the black gamers? Okay, what about black people who don't feel like Frey is a good character too? Like, what about, I feel like that says leaps and bounds more than what they're implying here is a bunch of lame white dudes mad about having a black girl protagonist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I really don't think that's the issue. Because you can see the promo and just be like, oh, not for me if you don't want to play as that protagonist. It's that simple. So people like that aren't going out of their way to fucking send to go and then play it and then send hate messages. They're just like, nah, I'll go play COD. Or nah, I'll go play Fortnite. Whatever. So they're coming out antagonizing everyone, and then they cry harassment. It seems.
While providing no evidence.
That's what it seems like,
saying
at least.
They need to show us 500 screenshots of different awful messages that have been sent their way, but when you can't find any evidence and they are making all of these bold claims while providing none, it is very hard to believe them and to ultimately support or back them. It's posted on X. They said the amount of harassment we've had recently due to this Gamergate 2 is not surprising. Gamers that thought the industry revolved around them and their comforts are now realizing it doesn't. We've had emails, comments, and threats, but you know what? We're not going anywhere. So, of course, they're bringing Gamergate 2 into this. And yes, I'm sure that over the past few weeks, they have received a lot of criticism because of Gamergate 2 and people calling out consultation companies, but criticism does not equal harassment, right?
Right.
That you can't go on on social media and post your opinion, and then when somebody says, I don't like the work you do, call it harassment. That's just not what harassment is to normal people, but of course to these individuals, they will call anything harassment if they believe it will get them attention. And they say gamers that thought the industry revolved around them, the industry does revolve around gamers, because without gamers, you would not have a job. Without gamers, the industry would not be the size it is today. You are making products that gamers will purchase. Of course, we know that a lot of the journalists that are in the industry and the developers, clearly judging by, consultation people like this, to shut down, and a lot of the developers who worked at Luminous were rolled back into Square Enix, but still a whole entire development company, as noted above, the organization consulted organization consulted with Square Enix.
I'm gonna read it because she's a little bit it's anyway. Black girl gamers were hired to consult Forspoken to provide insight on narrative and feedback on a pre-release build of the game that spanned from the gameplay experience to the portrayal of Frey as a female protagonist of Black descent, including topics such as colorism and texturism. What the fuck is texturism?
I was gonna say that's a new one. I don't.
What in the fuck is texturism? Please don't tell me it's about hair.
I was gonna say.
Please don't tell me it's about hair.
Because her hair didn't have.
They changed the actress's hair. They did. They changed her hair.
I hope it wasn't because of that. It's so dumb. It's based
What is
on a real person.
What is texturism?
I don't know.
I want wood floors, not linoleum. Is that texturism?
I wish it was something that fucking simple. It's probably not. It's probably something.
Oh God.
Just sad.
Okay.
Stuff is just sad.
This was an important consultation, given that Frey is one of the first female protagonists of Black descent in the fantasy game genre.
Oh my gosh, you were right. Texturism is a form of social injustice that involves discrimination based on the hair texture.
Oh my God.
It can include being styled certain hair textures negatively, such as afro-textured hair, coarse hair, and perceiving them as unprofessional, unattractive, or unclean. Texturism can also involve the idea that certain hair texture indicates superior status in society, such as loose curled hair or hair that meets European standards being considered societal norms.
Okay, so that's texturism. So, black girl gamers. All right, so everyone's saying that white men were behind Frey and any perceived racist or discriminatory portrayals of her are wrong because black girl gamers made Frey this way.
And that's why
I just want to reiterate that. They made her this way. This was sought out. This was, what did it say here? An important consultation. Given that Frey is one of the first. I don't know if that claim is true.
Right.
But these were important consultations, and black girl gamers went in about all of these things, like to inject these things into the game, and then they failed at it.
Right.
They failed at it. They completely abandoned it, right? As soon as she leaves New York, I guess. And then it's done.
And that's my thing. You know, they completely abandon it, and then
Proceed to make Frey lame.
Topics such as colors and textures, and those weren't even mentioned.
It's not in the game.
That's not even in the game. So that was their whole fucking job to do that. They failed at that off rip, so that gives them negative criticism. But I guess it's.
They're just. So what is the purpose?
I don't necessarily see a problem with a company consulting to make sure that their IP is relevant. But do they need to do it like this? No. And does the company need to put all this stuff in it? No.
No. And if yes, and being an also being that if the goal here is make sure Frey is awesome because she's one of the first female, because they're claiming that she's one of the first female protagonists of Black descent in a fantasy game genre, how did they get so far from awesome is the other thing.
Well, I think that awesome is subjective. It's perspective. They may think that's awesome, but they have a platform to talk about all this stuff, even though they didn't, and be able to share their ideas to gamers. But it's actually not awesome. It's like,
So okay. Then maybe we can look up, because I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're missing the mark really heavily if the majority of the community agrees this is not an interesting character.
right.
Or likable, right? Like, someone doesn't even necessarily, like, have to be interesting in order to be likable. Let's just say likable. Like, you're giving us one protagonist to go through the entire story with, and you make them hard to like. Jeez. What are they doing here?
First project had to be shut down because of this gigantic failure. I mean, seeing groups like Black Girl Gamers come out and say that you're the problem in the industry and that gamers are toxic and awful, do these groups not realize that they're getting obliterated? They are literally in denial over the fact that their entire business model is being wrecked, so they're double, tripling, and quadrupling down on attacking gamers, and it's clearly not working out for them.
Wow.
And the company is actually run by an individual named Jay Ann Lopez, who has talked tons of times about diversity and inclusion in the industry and about how they want to change the industry. But
Okay. So, I have a hypothesis that since the gaming industry is copying Hollywood so much, and since we recently learned that OG Hollywood's models were that the executive producer was in charge of every single movie every single time, it was always the executive producer's vision with the help, right, of his creative board, and then the actors as the faces. I'm willing to bet that listening to this woman speak will answer a lot of our questions.
mm-hmm.
Because the hypothesis being that because the gaming industry is copying Hollywood, looking to the head of the company will tell us everything we need to know about the product, because it's representative of the head of the company, because that's how old school Hollywood works, and they're copying Hollywood. So Jay Ann, what's her name?
In an interview,
Lopez.
she admitted how she would alter games while also expressing how she's annoyed at white characters. She asked, were there any video games that made you wish that their character was a woman of color or a black woman? They responded with, I would flip the whole premise of a number of games, especially the ones that go into countries and get their relics. I would flip that on their head. That's always been a dream of mine in general, but to be honest, I'm not averse to having white characters. I'm just very annoyed with how prevalent they are. Now, there is more to a character, okay, than their skin color. What is this narcissistic attitude that you have to see yourself in everything in order to relate to it, especially something that isn't even based on a culture that the people you're saying aren't being represented in is even based on? If I'm playing a game or watching a movie and it's based on African culture and mythology, I'm going to expect to see mostly black characters. If I see something that's based on Polish mythology, I'm going to expect to see mostly white characters. And if those, are both well-written stories, I guarantee I'm not only going to enjoy both, but find things to relate to in both, even though the story based on African mythology is filled with people that don't look like me. Guess what? Newsflash, we are all one race, the human race, and that's what matters, and we can all find similarities
preach,
and things to relate to no matter your skin color. This emphasis on if they don't look like me, I can't relate is ridiculous and narcissistic. We should be focused on character traits like courage, bravery, happiness, things like this that are ultimately good, but in
Okay. I'm not giving her a like because I'm just not going to be able to listen to her long term because of her voice. I don't want to fuck up my algorithm. We're influencers, but with substance. Jay Ann Lopez. BuzzFeed. UK.
We need to mix that up.
See, here, already we're starting with this boss bitch shit. Like she wants to be the fat Jennifer Lopez. That's the vibe I'm getting. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to see the same
Look, the
people
weave.
chosen again and again for
The
brand
Jordans.
campaigns or
See,
sponsorship
self-inserting.
opportunities. We need to mix that up.
Self-insert characters. Why did Frey insist? Why does Frey have a shelf of Jordans in her room? Why will Frey not take the Jordans off no matter what? Because Jay Ann Lopez is self-inserting herself into the video game during the consultation. It's not about black girls. It's about Jay. Jay Ann Lopez. Let's go.
See the
The
same
weave.
white people
Oh my God,
chosen
it don't
again
even
and
look
again
good.
for brand campaigns
She is
or
cringe.
sponsorship
Look at the shit
opportunities.
stuck on
We
her
need to mix
coat.
that up. My name is Jay Ann Lopez, and I'm an advocate for everything black. Black Girl Gamers is a community-based platform that specializes in heightening black women's voices in gaming. We do that multiple ways, internally with workshops, mentorships, and events, externally with events, and also moved into the area of talent brokering now, so bringing those opportunities in the gaming industry to the black members of Black Girl Gamers and making sure that they get that exposure. Thank you so much. We love you. The need grew from my own experiences. So I've been a gamer since I was about 7, 8 years old. Started off with Nintendo and playing Doom on the PC when my mum used to do radio. Especially when online gaming came on, there was a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, and it grew into this culture that was accepted. I experienced that when I was gaming online, but I also experienced it before gaming online with the invisibility of black women in games and in the media that I would consume or on the shows that I would watch about gaming. I create Black Girl Gamers to, one, shield other black women from those experiences as much as I can, and have them network internally, have a safe space to talk about gaming and not feel that their culture counteracted their gaming hobby. Because I feel like sometimes people don't expect black people to be in gaming or black women to be in gaming. Why should we not? We're just as much gamers as everybody else. Black Girl Gamers is basically me doing the work by empowering my community to have equity in the space. Culture is an online empowerment platform, and we specifically made it in 2014 so that we could empower black women like ourselves to embrace their skin tone and their hair texture. The media has been telling black women, you are great, but if you change this, you'll look even more attractive, and we're trying to undo that. It's just challenging that definition of what black beauty is and how much you need to change yourself to achieve that definition. We touch on the topics like slavery, colorism, cultural appropriation.
Look, if that's the case, Jay Ann Lopez, then why did you change your actress for the video game? If every skin color and texture is just fine, then why wasn't your actresses just fine? Why'd you have to change her skin and her face and her hair?
Just a whole different way.
Uglier on purpose. See, and these people get up on these platforms and will preach to you and tell you how to think. And they don't know how to fucking think for themselves. They don't know how to think themselves. because either they don't see their own hypocrisy or they don't care. Either way, I'm not buying it.
On the topics like slavery, colorism, cultural appropriation, achieves that definition.
How do I turn? Okay, so this sounds like she's describing now a different company or something. But what is she?
We touch on the topics like slavery.
There's nothing wrong with being pro-black or pro-you, whatever the fuck you are, but culture, black girl beauty, and confidence. Ellie Herod, Pride, Glamour. Is that Lizzo?
No, that's not Lizzo.
Fuck.
It is a online empowerment platform.
Lizzo's been canceled for harassing her dancers and being fatphobic against them.
The media has been telling black women, you are great, but if you change this, you'll look even more attractive. And we're trying to undo that. It's just challenging that definition of what black beauty is and how much you need to change yourself to achieve that definition.
I can tell you need to change about 40 pounds.
Like slavery, colorism, cultural appropriation, or
she needs to change about 40 pounds.
So we're influencers with substance. Growing up in a pro-black household, it gave me the education that colorism exists, but not in terms of how it actually moved.
Maybe more. She looks huge there.
To understand how those mechanisms play, because in my family, my brothers are both darker than me, my uncles are darker than me, so colorism's never been an issue within my family. But when you go into the world, you realize that, whoa, this is a currency now for people to then move through the world and get their privilege and get ahead and stuff like that. And I never really wanted to be that way.
But now you are that way because you're using your color to make money everywhere you can.
Black excellence to me is about building something that you are proud of. So when you leave this world, you've left a legacy. And that doesn't need to be a business. That can be your children.
And that's you dressing
family.
like that.
It could be fixing
leaving a legacy,
curses,
girl.
Because I think that helps then build
that weave needs to go. That whole outfit needs to go in the trash.
That feeling of you can't do something to then achieve it.
Girl, you can't stand up from that pose by yourself.
And if I left the world tomorrow, I'd be happy because I've had impact, regardless if it's big or small. I've had impact.
Oh, trust me, it's gonna be a big impact. Okay, so insight into how Frey from Forspoken became lame as fuck. We just keep looking to Jay Ann Lopez. We just keep looking. What makes a good gaming franchise? Good games with Jay Ann Lopez. Let's see. Because she claims she's a gamer. She didn't talk very much about video games.
And that's my criticism of that last video that we watched. Like, I thought that we were supposed to be getting information about Jay Ann Lopez and how it relates to her gaming business and gaming adventures, and she instead just talked about, like...
And with me, I have 3 special...
Yeah, well, it was a self-promo, like, all around. So she was promoting all her businesses.
I think franchises are incredible. It's the same game every year.
These franchises have so much more pressure.
I don't think they could ever get away with that again.
I'm not gonna lie, I rage quit that game. So this is something that I have to play.
Rockstar, call me. I've got the idea for you, yeah?
What?
Like nearly 30 years old, I will still act like a 5-year-old when they announce like a new Super Mario at like E3 or something. But for new current franchise, it'd be Call of Duty. But my entire online existence is based on Call of Duty, so I'd have to say Call of Duty.
So
for
you're
that.
saying Call of Duty, but you do have tastes outside
Of course,
Call
yeah,
of Duty.
of course. I play other games outside of
Awesome.
Call. But people don't think people think I do, but I do.
Okay, cool.
I've honestly never heard someone say Mario and Call of Duty are their 2 favorites. That's incredible.
It's a very big difference. It means you're a fully developed gamer.
Yeah, I'm a special type of person, I guess.
So, you know, JD touched on something like what
qualifies as a gaming franchise? Because would you call Mario a franchise? I would.
I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah, and there's loads of them, and it's all exactly the same sort of characters and story, essentially. Story? But yeah, characters,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's important as well. Yeah, just if they have the same characters.
Yeah.
I mean, with Mario, like, the story is exactly the same in every single game. It's like Princess Peach gets kidnapped, you gotta go save her.
We're tired of that,
But,
yeah.
yeah, but he
She's like,
transcends,
let
you
me
know, he
make them
transcends, like,
talk,
he's gone from
because I don't know
Mushroom
what the
Kingdom, like,
fuck
you know,
I'm
Super Mario
doing
Galaxy.
here.
He's gone across universe.
I'm trying to think about what
I'm
my
just here to
franchise
promote
of
black
choice would be.
women.
So
I
one
hope
of
they
the
don't
ones I
ask me
definitely
about
love is
actual
Mirror's
video
Oh, I
games.
love that so much. Yo.
A man of taste.
Oh my
Look at
God.
this. A man of taste, 100%. Like, I really enjoyed it because it was different. I love the parkour elements.
Yeah.
I love the fact you don't actually have to pick up a gun to win.
Okay, so here we go. We're covering her favorite gaming franchise.
Choice would be. So one of the ones I definitely love is Mirror's Edge.
Oh,
And
I love that so much. Yo.
A man of taste.
Oh my
Look
God.
at this. A man of taste, 100%. Like, I really enjoyed it because it was different. I love the parkour elements.
Yeah.
I love the fact you don't actually have to
Damn.
pick up a gun to win
Yeah,
in that game.
yeah.
So, and the fact that also
Speed it
representation
up,
in terms
jeez.
of
You're
a
lame
woman
as
of
fuck.
East Asian background. It was one of the first times I saw a franchise have someone that was like a non-white woman or man as a gaming franchise, and it was just inspirational
That's
to me.
one that I need to play, and everyone has said it. I've not played it, so this is something that I have to play.
So she
because I've
liked
heard this
Mirror's
is
Edge
so
because
good. And I don't
she
know
had
what I
an...
was consumed by at the time, game-wise. But
Let's stop here. Let's stop right here. She liked Mirror's Edge because she had a non-white female protagonist. This non-white female protagonist, she's an Asian woman. I don't know which country she's from, but okay, she's Asian, and I would say the majority of the time that you're playing ninja and samurai in games, you're playing authentically. So that bitch is not the first fucking non-white female protagonist. I was playing Tenchu Wrath of Heaven with Ayame when I was still in fucking middle school. She was a non-white female protagonist. Like, this Jay Ann Lopez, she's just stuck to the one thing. Just one thing. She's just gonna keep repeating herself on one thing, and it's that she hates herself so much, and is such a narcissist that if that person she's playing as doesn't have the same color or type texture hair as her, she can't fucking like it. She just has to inject, and it's like, I want black girls in video games. I want all people of all, whatever the fuck the setting is, it should be realistic. Not like a bunch of black people out in God of War type shit, like Norse mythology, or what they're saying now. Now they're doing Assassin's Creed with a gay black samurai. All that stuff like that is not necessary.
And those aren't fantasy games like that. They're based on,
Exactly.
They're based on historical basis. So you're changing history, which is fine, but don't
Right. Like, basically, if you're not Afro Samurai, stay the fuck away.
Afro Samurai, amazing. Why didn't you just make an Afro Samurai game if you done
They did. Apparently it wasn't very good.
good.
It hasn't aged well. But
But I completely
And
missed
look,
out
you
on
can't even
that.
mention it. I'm saying that's not really a great franchise. Can't mention what you was consumed by.
No, exactly. Yeah, I can't remember what it was at the time.
So, I can't. Are franchises good, or do you think there's room for improvement? Like, what's your thoughts on franchises at the moment?
I think they are good. They're a good thing to have because you don't want a brand new story and brand new characters every single time. You want to see characters develop and have more to come out in other games from that. However, I think that sometimes they are prolonged a bit too much, and it's just the story's dragged out. And that franchise
Lazy
could have stopped,
companies.
and it was good when it should have stopped there.
When GTA 6 is going to come out on PS6 and come out with the GTA 5 with it, do you think when it comes to franchises that companies can be quote unquote lazy in terms of making extra money out of their existing franchise, even though they know that their consumers are waiting for something new?
I'd say yeah. There's many examples. Like, obviously, GTA 5 was amazing. Rockstar are like the best, known as one of the best developers in the game. But then you look at their remaster trilogy of San Andreas, 3, and Vice City, which were panned.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like from just that one thing that they did, suddenly people kind of a little bit hesitant. So it's like, if GTA 5 was to come out again on PS6, I think if they bundled it as a pre-order bonus, that would be probably the only way people would be happy about getting it, because people aren't happy about buying it again on PS5 because they've already bought the game twice. You know, they might have bought it on PC, they bought it on PS4.
I had it on PS4 and on PS5.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
and PC.
I have it on pretty much every platform, and I'm like, I can't be buying this game again. You know?
And to be honest, I only hear about GTA when it comes to RP.
Yeah.
I don't hear about it any other. Let's not get into that. But yeah, I don't hear about it any other ways. I think maybe the audience is bored. What were you saying, Matt?
Do you know how stressed I am thinking GTA 6 coming out on a PS6? It's like we just got the PS5.
How long did the PS4 last?
I used to play them, all the time. That was my thing.
Okay.
Back in the day. But I've just thought of something as well. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one, but The Room is a really
I've
small...
heard of The Room, yeah.
The movie?
No. Oh. So The Room, it's like a puzzle game, but it's not a puzzle game. There's more to it, and it's like really amazing graphics, but also horror elements as well. This is an escape box. You have to get into a box, and I know that sounds so simple, but this box has so many different layers and like
kidnapping
hidden sort of things inside of it. Yeah, and it all animates.
This is the reason why it's not a franchise.
Right.
That explanation, like,
that it took time. They took time, they developed it, and they married it with really, really great execution. So it wasn't just, we're going to take this risk. We're going to take this risk well.
Yeah.
We're going to develop it well. So even if, like, you don't like it, you can't deny the quality of this game. And to be fair, I don't know, you know, sometimes I feel like franchises, core audiences are a bit bigoted and they need to be left behind in general. So, yeah, I'm the worst person to kind of be like, oh, no, you know, these core audiences.
Where's she getting this from?
That it took time.
Where'd she get that stuff from, though?
They married a really good execution. Sorry, guys. I was going to say, what they did for Last of Us 2 is that it took time. They took time, they developed it, and they married it with really, really great execution. So it wasn't just, we're going to take this risk. We're going to take this risk well.
Yeah.
We're going to develop it well. So even if, like, you don't like it, you can't deny the quality of this game. And to be fair, I don't know, you know, sometimes I feel like franchises, core audiences are a bit bigoted and they need to be left behind in general. So, yeah, I'm the worst person to kind of be like, oh, no, you know, these...
Sometimes franchises or audiences are a bit bigoted and they need to be left behind. What franchise is bigoted? What gaming franchise, I guess, is bigoted? I don't know.
That it took time. They took time, they developed it. Yeah.
And tell a story. And if they decide to do a 3, and never even...
Did it split the fan base, or did the choice of having an LGBTQIA character also split their fan base?
Okay, we're still... This is all Last of Us, apparently. Social climate. She, right here, she wants to claim that... I guess she wants to claim right here that making Ellie lesbian split the fan base on Last of Us 2, and that is not my reason. Number one, I mean, I certainly didn't enjoy it because it was like lame lesbian melodrama with a lame ass love triangle.
It wasn't even good.
So it's not about that necessarily. I mean, the thing. Okay, so my bigger concern is that I don't give a fuck about the sexuality of anybody in The Last of Us because it's a fucking like post-apocalyptic shit. And the last time I saw Ellie, she was like 13 in The Last of Us 1. Joel was a bereaved husband and father with seemingly no sexual prospects and like it just didn't come up. It didn't come up. And it didn't come up because it was not relevant. And I feel like it was still like they didn't have, like it wasn't really relevant in Last of Us 2. Or at least it didn't have to be that prevalent because it bogged the story down. it made, you know, Dina was not likable to me. And I feel like so I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. I feel like I would have had a much better time going through the story as Ellie, you know, just talking about Ellie's parts. Right now. Gay or not gay, Ellie. If it wasn't focused on this romance stuff, and if it wasn't focused on so much of the revenge with Joel, which everyone knew was a bad idea when Abby was stronger, smarter, faster, and better equipped every single time. There's no way. There's just no way. So The Last of Us 2 was just terrible on many accounts, but I didn't hate it because Ellie was gay.
That's a short-sighted opinion.
With a very controversial story.
Yes.
And them turning
I
that
definitely
into
didn't hate it 'cause
a
Ellie was gay.
franchise actually split their fan base. Because
It
half
did,
of
yes.
their fan base...
And what I meant to say too is that we should have had better times with Ellie. For example, okay, let's say, and here's the thing, like, leave her gay, okay? She's gay, she's got a gay love interest, okay, we meet them, fine. That's fine, fuck it. She's gay, alright. Now tell me more about her. Because I haven't seen her in all these years. What else about her? Oh, very little. She likes to kill people and she's gay. That's the problem I'm having here. That's the fucking problem I'm having. The whole thing is centered around her being bloodthirsty and homosexual. Like, that's not an interesting person.
They could have done so much with her.
They ruined her. Oh, on top of it, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I mean to say here is that she can stay gay and they can still make her a cool-ass character. And they didn't give me... They made me, like, fall, you know, out of like with her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you really bond, you feel like you bond with them in the first game. These fictional characters, because the writing was, you know, better. And then they just tear her character apart. Like, I don't hate Ellie. I love Ellie. And I feel like they just committed character assassination in that game. And I hated that experience of it. I was like, fuck, why do I have to do this shit again? Stop. Abby's gonna fucking pull your head off your shoulders.
Literally.
You know? And the fact that she just doesn't, come on. Ellie deserved it. I would have... I'm telling you right now, after the switch up of the characters or whatever, I really, for a minute there, believed that Abby was about to be my new protagonist, and I would actually have a reason to buy Last of Us 3 if it came out. And then the fact that she doesn't... that she doesn't end Ellie, and that Ellie goes off with this transsexual Asian child, mind you, I was just like, okay, this is garbage. But I actually like Abby because she seems more interesting than all the potential that Ellie had, and they assassinated Ellie. And Abby's the only thing that's close to a halfway decent character in the whole fucking game. Anyway.
Yes. Did it split the fan base, or did the choice of having an LGBTQIA character also split their fan base?
Well, I think all of the decisions they made in that game, including the big mystery that happens to one of the main protags, I feel like everything the story they wanted to tell split that fan base. Cool. And you've got half of the people who hate that game now, who love the original, and then other people like myself who was blown away and never even knew. I could feel that kind of emotion
Yeah.
For a game.
in a video game. I didn't even know I could feel that way. But that's the time when a dev is like, I'm gonna make a franchise and really take a risk and tell a story. And if they decide to do a 3, there's going to be so many people who are not even going to want to play it because they hated what they did in 2.
They married it with really good execution. Sorry, again.
If it's not Abby, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing as Ellie again.
They took time, they developed it, and they married
I don't
it
give
with
a fuck what
really,
happens to Ellie
really
now.
great execution. So it wasn't just, we're going to take this risk. We're going to take this risk well.
Yeah.
We're going to develop it well. So even if, like, you don't like it, you can't deny the quality of this game. And to be fair, I don't know, you know, sometimes I feel like franchises, core audiences are a bit bigoted and they need to be left behind in general. So yeah, I'm the worst person to kind of be like, oh no, you know, these poor core audiences. Nah, bun them, let them go. It's done. Come move up with the times. But sorry, you were saying.
Well, I was going to say, like, what you said about it splitting the audience, and they were like not happy with the fact that it was so many emotions and it wasn't what they thought it would be. Sometimes it needs to not be a Disney ending.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's
100%.
what I think part of the fan base was split across. They were split because it wasn't a fairy tale ending.
Yeah.
And they wanted this happy ending, whereas it was raw emotion of this, it can go wrong, and it was just so much more real.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's needed.
Well, they told their story, innit? They told their story, and a lot of gamers, we're so used to playing the characters and feeling like it's us. We're not. I'm not Cloud. I'm not no guy with a big Buster story. You get me? I'm like you for Ricky, but sometimes like we feel that story so much, and a lot of gamers felt like they were Joe, and they're not.
Yeah, exactly that. And and people couldn't understand what happened and what, like, you know, oh my god, that's not meant to happen in the story because that doesn't make it happy anymore. Well, unfortunately, it's more raw and real, and that's what people need.
And the best thing about franchising is that if that's what you want, go and play 1 again.
Yeah.
You have that standalone game. If you want that experience, you want that story to be that, you have a full game that you can replay over and over again if you want to. But this is what number 2 is, and if you don't like it, and the thing is, quality-wise, you cannot fault that game.
Yeah.
So, like, for you to fault the story, it is what it is. Like, the story is not going to be what you create unless you're the story writer. So, you know, I feel like a lot of, also, sometimes franchise do need to hold their ground when it comes to their creative decisions. In terms of franchises, what I want to talk about quickly is representation in franchises. You know me, I'm going to talk about this all the time.
Of course.
And there was this whole meme that was going around the internet with
that's how she makes money.
franchise
It's
character
her whole
bingo,
thing.
white man bingo, because you had Joel, you had Nathan Drake, you had Geralt. There's a bunch of them anyway, but they're all like middle-aged, 40-year-old, 30-year-old white men who were brooding, who have, you know, haven't shaved in a couple of weeks. And they either have a dead wife or a dead child that motivates them to fuel through the story. Do you feel like we need to have franchises that step away from, I don't know, Western stories, or step away from these core white male protagonist characters? Because the only one that I can think of right now is Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
I really would love to see a Deathloop franchise, but it depends on the ending that you got. Spoilers. But I would really love to see different franchises from different places, and I guess that's where like Assassin's Creed and sometimes Far Cry comes in terms of the settings that it takes place and the kinds of antagonists and protagonists that come through. Like, what would you guys feel about that topic and that subject in general?
So I really do think that they do need to step away from Western style stories, and there's actually a success in the way that it's been done in films already, and you've seen in some of the cartoon films where they don't have that initial story and they don't have this prince that saves them or this male main character. It's revolving around something completely different. So there's success in it, and I think that they would get that in gaming too.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, obviously. What about you guys?
I 100% agree with you. And what's annoying is I feel like they're doing 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
And then you have games that do try, like Mafia 3, but I feel like Mafia 3 is the weakest Mafia game. Me personally, I feel like the game that had the Black Pro tag was the one that had the least work in the game. Like, the world's empty. Like, so I was like, the game I'm meant to play, to be excited to play this Black Pro tag, and they did really good in his story. The rest of the world was just lackluster, and then I've got nothing to be excited about to tell other people. So yeah, 100%.
JD.
I agree as well. I'd say like a really good example of a big game that done it well was Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yes.
Like
amazing game.
Yeah, like that. Like you don't even think about it. Like it's just done that well. And like now Miles is an essential part of the Spider-Man story. And going into like Spider-Man 2, like he's gonna be part of the game as well. Like it's no longer just focused solely on Peter Parker. Like I think they need to definitely do a lot more things like that. Like I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah.
Black Girl
Allowing
Gamers
that
ends up
person
working.
of color or woman or
I
woman
think
of
they
color
end up
or
consulting on
trans or
Spider-Man 2,
non-binary in terms of just
and then
allowing them to be
ruining
the focus
some
of
of
attention
you
and be
know,
that
their
center
story
character to
too.
their own story. That's
By
still
shitting
what's
all over
missing.
Peter Parker to
I
build
feel
up
like
Miles
I would really
Morales.
love to have another Mirror's Edge example, and I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West right
leaving
now.
Miles Morales
And again,
out
it's just like I see a lot
the
more
other
black and
Spider-Man's
brown
game
faces
because
and
he had
Asian
his own
faces
game.
in the NPC community, and it's now looks like, Ayla, you just look at a place. So, JD, out of everyone here on the table, your career is kind of focused around franchises, obviously Call of Duty. So what happens when, for instance, one of the games doesn't perform so successfully? How does that affect you and your career? Because it's quite dependent on it.
Yeah, it's kind of stressful, not gonna lie. Like, as soon as they reveal a game, and then leading up to the release, you know, they reveal all sorts of different parts of the game. You're sort of thinking in your head, like, what am I gonna create content on? But like, what I do is I focus on the zombies mode on Call of Duty, and that's interesting because it's not every year. So say like the creators of Zombies, there's a developer called Treyarch, who make like Black Ops.
Yeah.
So when it's not a Black Ops game, there's no zombies, and so it's like, oh, what am I?
The Beauty of Gaming with Jay Ann Lopez. Black Girl Gamers, BBC London.
BITCH, N-word, go in the kitchen while I'm cooking fried chicken. How much does it cost to have you twerk on me? You get these kinds of expressions of misogynoir a lot in the gaming scene where specifically I am a black woman and it can play down on your mental health. Hi, my name's Jay Ann Lopez and I am the founder of the Black Girl Gamers community. And so I needed to make a community not just for myself, but for others. Misogynoir is not just evident in the gaming sphere, it's also in everyday life, and black women experience this every day. This is Paula. Paula founded the UK's first Black Girl Festival and is one of Forbes' top 10 women founders to follow.
As a black woman, you don't have a choice. I mean, I've always experienced misogynoir, and it ranges from education in the working field to when you start dating.
Was this started as a community and then what turned into a business?
Younger black girls who look like me and who are trying to figure out their place in a world that
Well, she called it a
ranking
community.
them at the very bottom.
What do you think can be done?
What I'm doing and what you're doing and what so many incredible black women are doing right now is we're trying to empower our own community.
That's exactly how I feel about it as well. So for instance, with my community, the Black Girl Gamers, we always focus on the people who we're trying to empower. And these are the BGGs. They are members of the safe community that I founded for black women in gaming.
All of a sudden, people are telling you to go back to the kitchen,
Go make me a sandwich. Why are you playing?
I am a black girl gamer. We do exist. We are visible.
Call it out when you see it. Actively uplift the black women you see around you.
I never heard anybody say black girls can't be gamers. Nobody said. Who said that though?
And the complaints that they have, I feel like are not just representative to black women. I feel like
So the Black Girl Gamers situation has intensified beyond comprehension. I've had some time to do some digging, and I have found some crazy things that I want to share with you all today. Beginning with some Black Girl Gamers discourse, which is only intensified while we wait for the impending reveal of the contents of the cease and desist letter from Black Girl Gamers. This is going to be shown by WDW Pro, Valiant Renegade. They say that they're going to be talking about it tonight. We'll see about that. I'll report on it as as soon as we get that information. But check this out from Packer Girl and we will get started. Black Girl Gamers responds to Gothics TV's recent accusations with a long two-part thread of the YouTuber's engagement with Black Girl Gamers from 2017 to the present day. So Black Girl Gamers comes out against Gothics TV once again after Gothics has done some interviews and talked about her past and how she was involved with Black Girl Gamers. I have watched some of those, and I have also read everything that Black Girl Gamers has said on behalf of themselves against Gothics TV. And I gotta tell you, there is some hypocrisy in their post. The person who wrote it argues over and over again that Gothics TV left of her own accord and that she left because she was anti-black or she was pushing those kinds of messages. But I did not see that in the things that they posted about her, the messages that they shared. Gothics started sharing opinions that the people in the Discord or in their community did not like, and they were either talking bad about her in podcasts or they were talking bad about her to Jay Ann Lopez or whoever was in charge and in communication with Gothics. And the more that you dig, the more that it is revealed that Gothics TV just wasn't at fault here, because the people that were complaining about her apparently did reveal themselves to the person that was in charge, and then that person pointed that out to Gothics in messages saying, oh, some people have said this about you or some people have said that about you. And they just never really did anything about it. And she even justified some of their actions in a way. So I'm really not interested in reading their excuses for this. I think that when we read the cease and desist letter and get the contents from therein, I think that we will have a better understanding of the situation and on how to move forward. But in the meantime, I want to show you guys something interesting, because it's not so much Black Girl Gamers that are the problem today. It's their followers, their supporters, the people that defend them, and Sweet Baby Inc. and other companies like them, including Kotaku writers, etc., etc. I have a very interesting post to share with you guys today. Check this out. This is also posted by Packer Girl, and she posts that Psychonauts 2 art director Lisette Teeter Montgomery likens Black Girl Gamers critics to I'm not going to say the word, but RAPIST colonizers. So that's what she compares the people complaining about Black Girl Gamers to. Wow, that's a huge blanket statement. I mean, honestly, in some ways that could be considered defamatory. I'm not sure. I'm not actually a lawyer or anything. First, from Osama Dorius: white men harassing Black women for having spaces that are meant to protect Black women from the harassment of white men. To which Lisette Teeter Montgomery, and she has GDC in her title as well, not surprised, this is how RAPIST colonizers think. I can't have her, so I will force myself on her. I can't share it, so I will destroy it, and she deserves it because DEI, these people are vile. So that's what she said. I'm not sure what gamer she is referring to. I have never seen anybody say something that evil before. I mean, does she even know who this person is talking about? There are no specific examples, so how is this huge, horribly racist?
Wow, okay.
BITCH, N-word, go in the kitchen while you're cooking fried chicken. How much does it cost to have you twerk on me?
Jay Ann Lopez. Making Belong presents Gamers Episode 2, Jay Ann Lopez.
In the history of all gaming, there are only 14 Black human female playable characters.
What?
Not
Where
just
did she
me, but
get
for a lot
that
of
from?
gamers, it's the best way to wind down after work. You're feeling like you'll be in a different world made up by somebody else. It's calming. I created Black Girl Gamers to be a safe space for Black women in gaming. There are people from different walks of life that play games, and we have a lot to offer. I think Black Girl Gamers can have a huge positive impact on the gaming scene. What I really want to do is allow these game developers to interact with us, have a positive outcome, to create a gaming world where everyone's opinion is different but still valued in the same way. We can create a more diverse gaming experience for people everywhere.
Young Ripper. This is who we were talking about earlier.
Oh,
2
really?
months ago. Yeah. Young Ripper.
Sorry that I'm finally getting a chance to speak on this, but this Black Girl Gamers thing is very interesting. Shout out to everybody in our little pocket of the internet that has chimed in. Big shout out to Gothics. But I got some things that I want to say. Danny Fernandez, whoever that is, posted something on Twitter. And I think it kind of maybe accurately, at least somewhat, represents kind of what's the intention here with a Black Girl Gamer thing, or with this thing. Now, for those of you that don't know, maybe out of the loop, this is just one of those Black Girl Gamers, one of those like general firms, consulting, doing all that good stuff. Very similar to what Sweet Baby Inc. is doing, and I think that's what's happened right now. There's a lot of backlash that happened with Sweet Baby Inc. And as people start to learn that there's more of them out there, there's plenty of them out there. Folks are starting to seek them out, identify the games that they've been working on, and start acting accordingly. And people don't like that because they're generally associated with stuff that is bad. And I think that is the reason that you need to understand that if you are pro Black Girl Gamers or Sweet Baby Inc. or whatever, is that what's your contribution often to the games, whether you believe it or not, has nothing to do with actually making it better. And I think that's why people take exception to it. But let's read through this real quick. Danny Fernandez here. Black Girl Gamers is allowed to have a space that doesn't include you. Using this in quotes right here. What if we had an all-white space or male? All male, I guess, space. You have. Since the dawn of games, comics, and cinema, we quite literally live in a white patriarchal society, buzz terms galore. BGG was made out of necessity. You have made folks uncomfortable enough and unwelcome enough to need a space where they can be free to create without the racism and sexism that is so heavily embedded into gaming culture. To act like it isn't makes me think that you are not only naive, but an actual idiot. Imagine being a punk-ass bitch, getting aggressive there, and crying about a space that you are already the dominant demo in. The gaming community is created for you, with you in mind. I don't know, with you, do you mean just gamers? You are the default, which means the rest of us must create our own spaces. I don't need to be in BGG, nor am I meant to. Other PLC can take it upon themselves to create something for their community in the same way they did. Or you can shut your mouth. Black women and WOCs, yes, women of color, I guess, are the least paid, least represented demo, period. Okay. So, trust me, I'm gonna go somewhere with this. I am pro freedom of association. And I'm capitalist, obviously. All rights extend from private property rights. And what some people don't seem to understand, that what comes with private property rights is the ability and the actual right to discriminate. I know that is used as a term that is a boogeyman term, which everybody associates with negative. But if you strip that word down to the crux of what it actually means, let's say that, it's inherent in private property rights. Now, with that being said, of course, people are going to point out some levels of hypocrisy in any event that there's something there. But I'm pro you getting together and doing whatever that it is that you want to do. Now, going back to what I said earlier, you don't really offer a service that makes games better by any means. Okay? And this is, I guess, the consequences maybe of that. So, sure, you have a right to exist and create your own spaces, but if your contribution, let's say, to maybe gaming, be it as the individual games or as a culture, isn't necessarily positive to the other gamers, and this includes other black people, maybe even other black women, especially other black women, well, this is what you get. Okay? Now, one thing that I do reject, because she did mention, since the dawn of games, comics, apparently, look, obviously, I'm a man that's in comics, okay, black man, it comes whole shot, right? And unlike many of these cats, I have done something that is that they, I guess, act as if it cannot happen. And I am not only I'm not like just working on somebody else's other stuff, be it a Marvel or DC. Not only did I create my own characters and all that stuff, we have been crazy successful. I've never looked at my race as something that is as a hindrance or something that prevented me, let's say, from doing that. But in the same respects, and this is just putting you on game, Black Girl Gamers, and why I think you're going about this the wrong way. If you do think that you offer a perspective that is needed or rather necessary, creating that sort of hive mind, because we know that this isn't the only thing that you care about, of course, there's no diversity in thought. We already know how y'all get down, especially in regard to like the political and social stuff, okay? But if you do believe that you have something that is genuine and that you want to contribute, blackity black, and focusing hyper-emphasizing on that is the worst way to do it. And so many folks have fallen victim to that. Now, look, you might have caught lightning in a bottle. Okay, definitely post 2020, where you had all these mega corporations start to seek you guys out because they wanted to prove that y'all that they weren't racist, right? So yeah, there's a whole lot of virtue signaling in that regard. But just with regard to merits, I think that's the important thing that we must discuss here. Damn the other stuff. If you think as a black person or whatever ilk that you are made of, I don't care. You offer something that is worthwhile. Focus on exactly that. And the audience, the customers even, will determine whether or not that information is useful. Y'all get so caught up in this, creating these dragons that you think that you need to slay. It's like this nonsense about, oh, these are your spaces. I've never felt that way. I've been a gamer quite literally my entire life. Never, not on a basis of race, have I felt some way of being excluded. That's absolute nonsense. But again, this is a problem that they create in their own heads, and then they create this dragon that they absolutely need to slay. And it's funny because oftentimes you get people that are part of this, and definitely if guys like myself, you see how they're doing with Gothics as well, they have nerve to call folks grifters, term that is so overused. But one can make the argument, though, that that is a projection at best. Because if there is a grift that is out there, it's certainly race hustling. Because there's no true market demand for it. However, you have seen that the more status quo, the establishment, if you will, in regards to the mainstream, they love y'all now. And now you prop yourselves up, the sweet baby X, and now it's a whole lot of y'all. It's like, hey, we exist. Go pay us. Get us involved in your projects. We will shield you from homophobia and sexism or racism or whatever terms, because we will make sure that your product is up to snuff. I think you're going about it the wrong way, just on some real stuff. If I can offer any advice, and I'm saying again, y'all, I have the receipts, okay? You guys have watched me over the years. I have done a lot of cool things, fronted bands, done, doing what we're doing with the Ripperverse. The best thing that you can do, if you want to be in a space, and you think that you offer something, because it's not really up to you, it's up to the customers. But like I said earlier, if you think that you offer something useful, shut the hell up about the social nonsense with regard to, and I keep saying with regard, I've said that like a million times this video, I don't know why, weird. Either way, whether you're black, whether you're whatever, put that by the wayside and just create. Let the audience, let the customers determine your value. You can't superficially do that. It's artificial as all get out, and they pick up on that. But we ain't done here. It's not just Black Girls Gamers. It's not just all of the other the Sweet Baby Inks. There's a multitude of these different groups. Either they are external, like some of these groups are, where they'll work with various other businesses and such. And then you have these companies that have their own little fake DIE departments in which they hyper-emphasize everything else other than making the damn game better. Now, people that don't actually care about games may believe that you offer something and it makes it better. But I'm here to tell you, and this is why you're getting the backlash, it's almost a kiss of death. And whether it's now so bad to whether or not it's specifically your fault, because I think a lot of blame is go around. I mean, after all, you are being brought in to provide a service, so that's on the leadership there. Why they bringing you in to do this stupid stuff? But now, if there's any sort of knock on your game, they're gonna put what y'all are focusing on, the wrong stuff. You are like putting, let's say, resources and money into the wrong thing, even if it wasn't specifically just your fault. It's a kiss of death. But the best way you can be great is to just go be great. It's a simple thing, I promise you.
That was nice.
Do you like hot men?
Yes.
No, what the fuck?
Do you like attractive women with big hands? What's
No.
up, everybody? This is the Sexy Man here, and today I'm bringing you my top 10 list of video game characters that I jerk off to.
What the
Number 10,
fuck?
Urgot. Number 9.
What the fuck?
Uncle Lumbago. Lately, there's been a lot of buzz surrounding the upcoming
What
game
the fuck?
Stellar Blade and its protagonist Eve. Many
Oh,
gamers
this
are
is that
celebrating
funny
the
guy.
provocative design, the exotic
Oh my
outfit she
god.
wears, and as a red-blooded male,
This is the guy who did the
I can
Fallout
appreciate this as
fucking
well. Now, I
thing.
played the demo. It was pretty fun.
Being a psychopath in Fallout Part 1.